Hello everybody, welcome to this wonderful reading. I'm Joey House, welcome. So basically in this reading that I'm so sorry about this, but I'm at the cafe shop, this is how it is. So you might hear voices in the background. But letting you know that this can be for a tarot card reading for basically whoever wants to watch this video. But it seems to be how it is in that way where this is going to be very interesting. This will go for April the 15th to April the 30th of 2020. This is a wonderful welcoming insight for what's going on in this entire way of politics. We understand that there is going to be lots of things that are going on, but then there are lots of things that you need to understand because there's lots of things. And you pay attention to what's going on in that perspective, and when everything seems to be very good, you have to understand that, right? You have to acknowledge what's going on in that surface, where you do what you can, but then you go what you can and say, alright, well, I know what to do, I got this, I know what it seems to be. So when there are things they must learn first, you have to understand that, right? That's the way it goes. But, this is how it is. So when you have your own peer pressure, or when you have your own ways of how your own sensitivity, your own ways, you think that, okay, well, everything should be fine. But then you have to understand about where you negotiate, whether you have your own terms, whether you're feeling so right, not feeling so good, whatever it is. There are things you must learn first in order to do that. So you have to stay and go with the flow, then you have to understand that, right? So when you do that, you have to pay attention to it, whether you like it or not. But that's the base on. That's the base on how you're feeling, how you're going to understand it. That's the way it is in peace. So you have to understand what's going on in that way, and you think that everything's going to be fine. But then you need to understand that where you prove yourself wisely, and you think that everything's going to be fine, and you do what you're told to do in that way. That's how it's going to be, I guess. You have to understand the way of how it is, and you do what you're told to do. That's the way it goes. So this is the way it's going to be in that way, and this is how it is. I'm going to read you a oracle. Patience. I accept that everything happens in divine order. When you have patience, you have the ability where you have to do that. When you have patience, you have to be patient. You have to do that. You can't be impatient, saying, "Oh, I don't want to do that." You have to be patient. You have to wait for things to be coming along. That's how it's going. Being patient, you have to wait for something, whether you like it or not, whether you're going to go and get it, whatever it is. But then you have to be patient in what's going on, whether you're feeling sick, or you're feeling ill, whether you're feeling whatever it is. But you have to be patient. That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it's going to be, okay? So that's how it is. So I'm going to look at what's happening in the middle of the situation, and this is the way it's going to be in that way, and you have to do exactly what you're told to do, because that's the way it's going to be. So here we go. So the way of how this is, where you have the 6 pentacles stuff, right? It does represent Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus as zodiac signs, but it does represent where you're going to do that, where you're going to have the acts of kindness. You're going to do exactly what you're told to do. That's how it's going to be. When things have to be all great, you think, okay, well, it seems to be, this is the way it needs to be, how it is. And you think, okay, well, this is the way of how it is in that way, right? So you have to understand, well, the way of how it is, you do what you're told to do, right? You have to be responsible on how you're feeling, how you're going to interact with that. That's the way it goes. But then you have to believe that, okay, well, this is the way it goes, but then you understand that. That's the way it needs to be. So you have to be cautious about what's going on in that way, and you think, okay, well, this is the way it needs to be in that way. So you need to put things together as like a life of pie, whatever it is. But you know what I mean, right? That's what it needs to be. And when you do that, that's the way it kind of goes. So let's see what's going on. So I'll go from the middle to the left, middle to the right. So you have the Emperor separate, followed with the 3 of Wands to separate, followed with the 3 Pentacles reverse, followed with the Temperance reverse, followed with the 7 of Wands reverse, followed with the 3 of Cups reverse, followed with the King of Pentacles to separate. Yeah. So it does represent where you're going to have your own money situation, you're going to have your communication, that's the way it goes. So, you go with the flow, but then you have to understand about how it is in one way or another. You have to believe about who you are, where it is, where you have your own structure, your own beliefs, your own abilities from that way, from that perspective. That's how it seems to be. So you have to go with the flow. You do what you can and say, alright, well, this is the way it seems to be. I need to pay attention to it. I got this. I know what to do. But that's how it is, right? That's why that this is a life cycle. You go with the flow, right? That's why it seems to be. It's a repeated cycle. But that's how it seems to be in that way, whether you like it or not. But that's how it is, seems to be. So you could be dealing with another Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. You could deal with another Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. That's the way it goes. But that's how it seems to be. Let's have it on the right side. The Five of Cups reversed. High Priest is upright, and the Ten of Cups is upright. So there is basically completion here. You're using your inner voice. That's the way it goes, because you think, okay, well, everything seems to be fine. But then in that way, you need to be how it is in that way, where you think about, okay, well, I know what to do, I got this, but that's how it seems to be. You need to understand the way of how it is, where you're going to be welcoming it, where you're going to do that. That's what it seems to be in that way, right? You go with the flow. You do what you can, but then you have to emasculate your own situations, your own skills, your own feminism, your own ways about how you can do it. This is the way it seems to be, because it's all sporadic. You know, everything has to be all like wildfire, whatever it is, right? That's what it seems to be, because you have to believe that you need to have your own intuition, your own gut feelings, and say, well, this is the way it seems to be. I got this. That's the way it goes, because you're in control. What's happening between the middle and the left, middle to the right? Saint Nicholas is upright, followed by the Hangman is upright, followed by the Hierophant is upright, followed by the Nine of Swords is upright. So it does represent where you're going to have your own, your own fear or your own trauma, whatever it is. That's how it seems to be. You have the Hierophant because you're going to have guidance. That's the way it goes. The Hangman is upright where you have restrictions. That's the way it seems to be. And then all of a sudden you have the Saint Nicholas is upright where basically you're looking for your career. That's the way it goes, right? That's why it seems to be in that way, where you got this, but then you know what to do. You go with the flow, but then you understand that, right? So you could be dealing with another Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. You can deal with another Gemini, Aquarius. That's the way it goes, and that's the way it happens on the left side. On the right side, let's see. Knight of Wands reversed. King of Wands reversed. Queen of Cups is upright. So you want to have empathy. You're using two sides of the story here. One makes sense, one doesn't make sense. But you have to prove your point where you know what to do, you got this, but then you have to understand that, right? There is always a silver lining, whether you do, right? When you have a silver lining, you pay attention on the way how you feel, the way how you act, the way how you can be, the way how it seems to be. So you need to understand the way it goes, where you seem to be in that way. So what's happening between the middle and the left? The Hermit reversed, Lotus reversed, the Magician reversed, the Moon reversed, Judgment reversed, Temperance reversed, but the Strength card is upright. So you want to have strength in how it is. You will be representing Leo as a fire sign. As zodiac signs, you pay attention to what's going on that way. Whether you need to understand what's going on in that way, you have to pay attention to it. Whether things are going good or bad, or whatever it is. But then you have to know about how you can do it universal. That's the way it goes, right? Because this is the way of how you can do it. Understand about how this is going to be a very interesting way. How you can be, the way how you're feeling. But that's the way it goes. You need to have your own conclusions, your own setbacks, your own feelings. Because you want to have your own wants, your needs, your desires, whatever it is. But that's what it seems to be. What's happening between the middle and the right side? The Chariot is upright, followed with the Tower is upright, followed with the World is upright. Yeah, so there is basically communication, or basically completion here. The Tower is upright, there's lots of transformation, everything changes. The Chariot is upright, there's progress. That's the way it goes, because that's the way it seems to be from now on. That's the way it kind of how it is, right? That's how it seems to be in that way, because you think, okay, well, I know what to do, but that's how it is. What's happening between the middle and the left? The Empress is upright, followed the Justice reverse, followed the Lovers reverse, followed the Temperance reverse, followed the Tower reverse, followed by the Star reverse, followed by the World is upright. So you have completion, everything is completed. The Empress is upright, there's nourishment, that's the way it could be. But the Justice reverse, you're not telling the truth, that's the way it goes. The Lovers reverse, you already have decisions that you already make. That's the way it goes, in that way. So you're trying to figure out what's going on in that how it is, and you pay attention on how it's going, and that's how it is, in that way. What's happening between the middle and the right side? The moon is upright, or the magician is upright, or the hermit is upright. So basically when you have the moon, you have misorientation. You know, that's the way it goes. The magician is upright, you have skill, and the hermit is upright, where you have solitude. That's the way it goes, because you have to believe that, okay, well, this is fine, but then it's like, well, you know, that's the way it goes. I need to understand about how it seems to be in that way, and you think that, okay, well, that's why this is a huge, gorgeous reading, because that's how it seems to be. You pay attention to what's going on that way, where you figure out what's going on that way. You have to believe that, you have to understand about how it's going to be in that way, and you think that how it is, right? That's the way it seems to be. So let's see what the universe is saying. What's happening on the left side? Page 1 for your source of invention. What's in the middle? Emperor reverse, there's no structure. What's on the right side? The strength of reverse, you're not being brave. Yeah, because you're basically telling me that, you know, you're being scared, right? That's the way it goes, right? You're being frightened, you know, that's the way it seems to be, and that's how it kind of goes. In that way, you're thinking, well, this is not good. It's not, because that's what it seems to be. There are things that you must learn first. In order to do that, that's the way it goes. Where you understand about where you're going to have your own setbacks, your own ways, your own conclusions, your own conjunctions, whatever it is. Because you pay attention to what the universe is saying. You know, that's the way it goes. So, let's see what's happening with this page 1. 8 of Pentacles is upright, there's perfection. 5 Wands is upright, there's chaos. Yeah, so when you have perfection, when you have chaos, things are not going as right. Things are going basically how unsettling it is, because that's the way it goes in that way. Because, you know, you need to understand about how it is one way or another. So you could be dealing with another Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. You could deal with another Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. That's the way it goes, and that's the way it happens in that way, right? Because you have to understand about where you do what you can to understand that. That's the way it seems to be in that way. And you think, okay, well, I know what to do. I got this, but that's how it seems to be in that way. So you have to understand that this is the way about being patient, being who you are, you know, how it is. Because that's the way it goes, right? This is how it is, and life goes on. You know, that's the way it seems to be. What's happening with this Emperor card? The Queen of Swords is upright, so there's independence. The Just reverse, yeah, because you're not telling the truth. No, you're lying about something. When you lie, it's basically how you're feeling like there was something very, you know, unsatisfying. You know, it's bad. You know, that's the way it goes. Where you think that everything's fine, but it's like, no, it's not. Because that's how it is. If you're showing independence, you're doing things that all you want. But then when you have the Justice reverse, you're not telling the truth. You're lying about something. When you're lying about something, it's not good. It does represent that way of being resentment, you know, aggravation, whatever it is. Because it's not a drawing point. It's not. Let me clarify the Justice. The Lover's reverse, so there's no decisions. Ace of Wands reverse, and no beginnings. Ace of Swords is upright, so there's an understanding. Yeah, because that's the way it goes. When you lie, you know, things are not going as planned. Because you're thinking, oh well, everything's fine. It's like, no, it's not. You know, everything is not fine. So you pay attention to that, oh well, everything is fine. But no, it's not, right? Because you have to pay attention to it. That's the way it goes. That's how we make this strength partner. King of Cups is upright because you want support, and Queen of Pentacles is upright because you want stability. Yeah, that's the way it goes. So, you know, that's the way it seems to be in that way, and you think that, well, this is how it is, because this is like almost like universal of how it goes in that way, right? You think that, oh, everything seems to be fine, everything seems to be good, but then that's how it is. So let's see what's happening in the middle, what's happening on the left, what's happening on the right. So let's see, what's happening on the left side? Queen of Air, independent, experience, realistic, witty, objective decision making, clearing away all that no longer serves you, see the humor in the situation. You know, that's the way it goes, where you need to understand where you can believe about when you have your own sensitivity, where you want to have humor, where you're going to be, you know, making each other laugh, whatever it is. But then you have to understand about, you know, you have to show about where you have independence, or whether you do things to that way, right? That's the way it goes, right? So that's how it seems to be. So you could be dealing with another Gemini, Libra, Aquarius as a feminine woman, and that's the way it goes, alright? What's happening in the middle? The Five of Earth is fear surrounding money, the wisdom to accept help from others, and certain self-employment. Yeah, so, you know, you want to accept what other people are doing, because you want to help them out, and, you know, cost of living is going up and everything else. But then if you pay attention about what's going on, you know, you forgive, you give and you take and you receive and everything else, and that's the way it goes, right? So when you do understand that's the way it goes in that way, and you have to do what you can. So you can be dealing with another Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, and that's the way it seems to be in that way. That's how it is, okay? Let's see what's on the right side. The Page of Fire, outgoing, creative, confident, mischievous, news of an excitement. News of an exciting new endeavor. Use your originality and integrity. You know, that's the way it goes. Right? You could be an outgoing person. Maybe you're going to be doing what you can, but then you focus on what's happening that way, because you have to see it in a different way, in a different perspective, because that's the way it goes. So you can be dealing with Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius as their signs, as fire signs to pay attention to. Let's see what's going on. Right, so let's see. Who's on the left side? The map maker of destiny. Authentic purpose, inspiration, free will. You know, that could be interesting, where you could be feeling like there's a masculine situation where you could have free will, or where you have your own ways about how it is, where you understand that. So you have to understand about how it's going to be in that way, and you're thinking, okay, well, this is going to be very interesting, because that's the way it goes, right? That's the way it ends up being, because that's how it seems to be in that way, because this is how it, continuation of it, so it could be very interesting. So you could be dealing with another Gemini, Libra, Aquarius as a masculine, as the man of that situation, okay? What's happening as the middle? The keeper of the scales, fairness and balance. You know, that's the way it goes, where you can have your own fairness. You know, that's the way it goes. So you could be, you know, thinking that, well, everything's going to be fine, I got this, but then it's like, well, you need to understand that, right? This is the way of how it is, and there can be like a good pushing point of how it is, or a pressuring point, but it is, because that's the way it goes. So you could be utilizing their feminine as a Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, right? And last but not least, on the right side, Lady of the Lightning. Surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. That's the way it goes. So you could be having your own, having a shock, or having surprises, whatever it is, because that's the way it goes, and that's how it's going to be. So you need to understand the way how this is in that way. So you could be dealing with another Leo, Aries, or Sagittarius as a feminine woman at the same time. That's how it is going to be in that way. So I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you understand that, the way how this is, the way how you can be impressed of how it's going to be, and that's the way it goes, right? So when you understand that that's the way it goes in that way, and you're thinking, alright, well, this is the way it needs to be, I need to pay attention, or I go with the flow, but that's how it is, right? You have to understand about how it's going to be in that way, and you're thinking, alright, this is the way it seems to be, because that's how it is, right? So you have to understand about how it is in one way or another, and you have to do what you can, do what you're told to do. That's the way it goes, right? Be responsible, be how you're feeling, but that's how it is. So you have to have your own interaction, but that's how it's going to be in that way. So I hope you all like this video. Please give it a like, please give it a comment, and